Good morning, wherever you are. My name is Will Drzymski, and this is the Worship Reformation Podcast, the podcast where we discuss the theology and application of the classical or traditional style of Reformed congregational worship. To learn more about our ministry, check out worshipreformation.com.
Tis the Spirit's rising beam. This He gives you, this He gives you. Tis the Spirit's rising beam.
Now, this is our first podcast, so we will make it a fun topic of introductory. Now, to start with the introduction, who am I? I am Will Drzymski, like I said. I am a Christian bought with the blood of Christ. Officially, I guess, in the theological realm, I am a Reformed Baptist. But I suppose I'm willing to be convinced of the Presbyterian side of thinking at this point. But someone just has to convince me, and I have to read more books. So get back to me later on that. My first job is to further God's kingdom, done firstly by having many godly and dangerous children brought up in the faith of our Lord Jesus. Our first dangerous child is scheduled to arrive in late March, so my wife and I are both very excited about that. My paycheck job is as a FedEx feeder pilot. So I fly small freight loads between small routes for our company, and our company does that for FedEx. So we fly Cessna Sky Couriers, which is basically, I fly Cessna Sky Couriers. Those are small twin turboprop aircraft. They weigh about 19,000 pounds, fully loaded, size of a small school bus, I would say. My side hustles, or what I do in my off time, include an art business called Reflected Works. So I paint artwork, oil paintings. I also sell prints there, and I have just gotten into selling greeting cards, along the masculine greeting cards, feminine greeting cards, neutral greeting cards, but all with high-quality art on the front and high-quality quotes on the front, so that you're not sending your loved ones a sappy or meaningless quote. They're fun. You should check it out, reflectedworks.com. I also just started Worship Reformation. Worship Reformation is a website it's springing mostly from the Substack that I had, and the Substack sprung from some emails that I just started sending around to various people about worship theology. So the Substack sprung up about half a year ago, and then very recently my wife and I have decided to start recording psalms and hymns in 4-part harmonies and distributing them around the internet. So iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, the website itself, those will all be there. So we hope to have a piano in the background, 4-part harmonies, the piano to kind of give it some actual depth so it sounds nice to a average listener. So you can listen to it in the car and it doesn't sound too cut and sharp, I guess. The piano's there to mellow it out and give you the impression of a good way in which an instrument should be applied to congregational worship. So that is something that we are both excited about. We're still in the learning how to do that phase, and are in the process of recording our first hymn, which you'll have to see when that comes out what it is. But right now we're focused on that. There's a lot of good hymns floating around that people have recorded on YouTube to the same style that we would like to do. I guess the new thing with this that we're trying to hit at is to sing old hymns and sing psalms set to meter. And a lot of people don't typically sing. A lot of your a cappella singers online will not typically do the old hymns, nor will they do psalms. So we kind of see a gap there that I think would be exciting to fill up. The other purpose of Worship Reformation is to, kind of along the same lines, is to just get people excited about singing psalms and hymns, and then teaching them how to do that. The albums that we produce will be the 4-part harmonies, and then we'll also release albums where it's just the soprano or just the alto or the bass or the tenor. So you can kind of figure out, what your part is to a particular song. So that'll be fun. Eventually, my wife and I hope to relocate our base of operations with all of us to Mexico, because my father-in-law lives in Mexico and he ministers to the Tarahumara Indians down there. And one of the ways in which we could be involved with that is by helping teach people how to sing. They've got a bunch of Catholic influence down there and a very feministic type of society, and a lot of that is shown in the types of hymns that they have available. A lot of it has been translated from English hymns to Spanish hymns and done in a very feminine fashion. It's not a great situation, any Spanish hymn you come across. It's very emotive and not very strong. So that's something that we would like to help out with. I also, being a pilot, I can help them fly around the various mountain ranges and whatnot to the different Indian tribes that he ministers to. So that'll be a lot of fun. We're still going to paint artwork and produce music. So for this podcast, what we're going to discuss is mainly topics drawn from the articles that I've already written on worship theology. Why do that? Why make a podcast of something that you've already written on? I could just direct you to the articles if I wanted to, but in my experience, there are two types of people. There are people who read, and there are people who listen. And based on what type of work you do and what type of brain you have, some people will appreciate reading more than listening to a podcast. I'm one of the types of guys who, I'll be driving down the road and it's helpful to put a podcast in. But once I get to the end of my trip, I am not expending time on reading. I've got a podcast in the background while I do other things, and then I read when very little, honestly. I mostly listen to audiobooks and podcasts. So I'm going for my group of people, I guess, with this, and hopefully you guys can be edified as well. For those of us with small brains who do not have the desire to read as much as we should. So there will be a short form podcast, long form podcast, so 5 minutes, little clips of thoughts or ideas that I come across. There will be longer ones. There will be interviews with guests. This is going to be fun. This will just be exciting. Stay tuned. There will be more to come. That's it. So we expect, like I said, many more podcast episodes to follow. And happy to have you along for the ride. Thanks for listening. Be sure to refer all of your friends. The more the merrier, as I like to say. Be sure as well to check out worshipreformation.com. Go there to learn more about our ministry that my wife and I do with music. Find more content and support our work. So until next time, sing heartily, sing daily, and sing psalms. This is Worship Reformation.